off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Hello, welcome, refiners. What's for dinner? We are here. We are back to recap Severance, season two. It's been what, 3 years? 3 years. Yeah, it's been 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, a long 3 years. D,
Feels like
how's it
three
going?
years too. I'm good. It felt like 3 years. Like it felt like a really long time for the two. I mean, and it's like, it felt like it was so long that when I thought about doing a rewatch, I'm like, man, I gotta start because I've got to watch 2 seasons and
No, you have to watch one season, approximately in one season, 9 episodes. Yeah, not
that's
even
it.
10, not even
That's it.
12, 9. Yeah,
Nah.
but yeah,
But yeah,
it's back.
we can get with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I will say this. So even though it's been 3 years and it's on Apple, who is notorious for not promoting any of their shows, because even as I was going to this show, I saw shows I'm like, I've never heard of that before. And it's stuff that has like
Hmm.
major actors in it. Even with that, you can tell that there was a very intentional effort to like build up the hype of like season two, and I gotta say, it worked.
It
You
worked.
could feel it. You could feel like the excitement about this, and it worked. So we'll just jump straight into it. Just general impressions about episode one.
Thought it was a strong opener. And I like how seasons, I know most people do it, but I really appreciate how things can go from one thing to the next. No time jumps, no skips, whatever else. The When they pick up right where they left off, it's helpful. Now, the good thing is with our streaming method that we watch TV now, we can always revisit. So it's not too much of a big deal. But I am happy that it picked right back up. And it also, I feel like, answered a lot of questions we had without trying to, delay it. We got some answered right away, which was cool.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I do agree with your point that I'm glad that there was no time jump, especially with how they ended the first season, because I do kind of hate that because it's not like well executed a lot of times. Like there'll be like a cliffhanger and then the next season will start and then there'll be a time jump and then they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll explain that later. It's usually not well executed, but I'm glad that they, jumped right in where we left off. And
Hmm.
basically where we left off, as you covered in your season one recap, prior to this episode, the Ennies concocted a plan to basically enable the overtime. What's the C in the overtime? The OTC. I can't remember the C.
Contingency.
The overtime contingency, correct. So they
Hmm.
enabled the overtime contingency. Three Audis were awakened. They were supposed to make contact with somebody on the outside. But Milicic makes his way there, turns it off, and then that's where the episode ends. That's where it picks up with Mark entering work after this long amount of time and trying to see what's going on. So that's where we are now.
After the, what was it? What do they call it? The
The
micro
micro
debt
the micro data
uprising.
uprising, yeah.
The micro
And
debt uprising.
so so my first thought about that, in the first season, we've seen like paintings and pictures of Kier showing things that have happened.
Hmm.
And this is now like one of those things. Like we've kind of like lived through one of those things and we have seen the commemoration of it. But as you can see, it's not really a commemoration of it because they're almost like trying to, oh, this is timely. They're almost trying to change what happened and trying to like use it as propaganda.
That's exactly what they're doing. Not only are they trying to pretend, well, there's no pretending it didn't happen, right?
Mm.
So with that, it's almost like if a company has a OSHA violation, right? And then the workers come and say, well, it's been like this. It's always been like this. There have been no it's dangerous. We have to pee in water bottles because we don't get adequate bathroom breaks and all of that. And then the company
Mm.
comes back around and says, we've made all these revisions. We hear you, blah, 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 blah. They paid a little fine and then nothing changes. But the
Yeah.
people who are outside, we see, oh, it's gotten a little bit better. They're making changes. They're doing this all because we still want to support the goods or whatever it is they give us. So we will
Mm.
accept what they tell us just to make ourselves feel better, knowing good and well that nothing's going to change for real, especially when there's no consequence. Like you see $1 million fine, a $2 million fine, or whatever from this $1 billion company. And it's almost like if I needed to do something and I knew that it was wrong, well, somebody told me not to do it. I knew the punishment would be $1. I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like
Because
I'm
that's
gonna
nothing.
do it.
That's a
It's
drop. Yeah.
nothing. If you tell me I'm going to prison, then I'm not gonna do it. Like I'm not.
Mm.
But if I know for fact, like I know that it's gonna cost me $1, and I still get to do the things you told me not to do, I'm gonna do it because I want to do it.
Right,
And
right.
that's what's
And
happening
that's
with
it.
them.
And that's exactly the feeling of Lumen. It's like, oh, we didn't know this was happening, but we hear you, we see you. So yeah, it starts off with Mark running through the hallways. When he finally encounters Mr. Milichik, we learn that it's been 5 months, and apparently he's the all right. So he's the only one on his team to come back. He has a new team. No other members of his team wanted to come back, and Miss Cobel had an erotic fixation on him and is no longer with the company, which I'm just like, all right, wanted to engage in a throuple.
So the funny thing about that is, jokingly, you and I were talking about this because you were like the probably the most hilarious part of this whole thing is that Mark had two or three baddies. No,
Yeah.
his any Mark S that has
Yes.
two, and I'm like, well, that's right because he had Miss Casey seemed to like him enough.
Yeah.
Haley full out like when she kissed him, and then on the outside we got the doula, and then Gemma, which kind of works the same. But me being silly, I was like, oh, and low key, Cobel might be going. I was joking. Like I was
Yeah.
really, I was not serious at all. But to hear them say that she was trying to engage and have them in a throuple was hilarious to me. Because I'm like, let's stop. Now I do wonder what it is about him and her because when she was Miss Selvig, she was telling him, get away from them, Mark. And I'm like, well, what does that even mean? Like, does she want him
Yeah.
to stay or does she want him gone? I don't understand her like at all. I don't get her.
Well, I feel like that part of the Miss Selvig thing was kind of like because that happened after she had been fired, right?
Yes, because she didn't tell him about Haley. Yeah, well,
Right, right,
suspended.
right. Yeah, yeah. So I feel like that part because otherwise, like, well, prior to that, she was there purely for like surveillance, which like makes you wonder. All right, so not to get too far off task, but it makes you wonder, a if the other Audis basically have a Lumen employee tied to them. Like, what if like Irving has Mr. Milicic living next door to him, or B, what if Mark is the only one who is being surveilled on the outside because, something potentially happened and they need to keep watch on him?
See, my thought was that too, and I was assuming that they were surveilling Mark because of Gemma, right? To
Mm.
see, I guess, how he was coping, if he remembered anything or anything else, because she was doing that with Miss Casey on the inside.
Hmm.
Cobell was. She was, like having her take him to wellness and kind of watch them when they interacted with each other because after she brought them in and Mark did that clay rendition of the tree, that's when
Hmm.
she said send her back to the testing floor. So my thought was, yes, at first I thought everybody would have had one, but now I'm thinking that maybe she attached herself to Mark because she has some kind of interest in him and Gemma because they're the two that also are inside together.
Yeah, yeah, and
Unless Dylan's married to somebody, that is also Severin.
yeah,
We don't know.
yeah. I have thoughts about Dylan, which I'll get to later. But yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of how you said, they obviously there's something there with the Delta Gemma and Mark, and they trying to keep an eye on it. But yeah, going back to the new team, do you buy that they didn't want to come back? I'll ask you that first because Mark arrives. There's a new team.
Okay, so I have to ask my question. When he said they didn't want to come back, was he talking about the Audis decided they wouldn't send them back, or that he talked to the Innies and they decided not to come back?
So yeah, it leads you to believe that the Audis didn't want to send the Indies back because, of course, the Indies will probably be like, "Nah, we're good." But they talked to the Audis, and the out and Mark was the only one who said like he agreed to come back. So, well, Mark S's Audi is the only one who agreed to come back. Which, yeah,
Yes, you're right. Because I think he said specifically Dylan's Audi decided not. Okay. Because I was gonna say if we're to believe that they talked to the Innies, that's a lie. Because when they came off the elevator, they were all exactly from the point where they switched again. Because
right.
Irvin was still beating on the door and Dylan was pissed about his belt. Um, but if they if they said no the first time, why would they say yes the second time? Like
Which,
if it were me, if my any said we're being abused, we're not, I just be like, she's not going back down there. Like that's just what it is. Then they come back to me and say, oh, okay, well, the other innies won't cooperate unless your any goes back. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but no, because it's still me. I'm not going back down there. So I'm
well,
not sure. I don't know.
I have an even better question for you. Why, after Mark's insubordinates, why would they give him what he wants too? Like because he wanted to see his team again, and they knew
Nothing.
that. But what?
Nothing makes sense right now on that front. None of it. And I still don't understand why they're so adamant about having them back at all. Like you said, yes, if Mark wants to come back, then so be it. But they could just say no. But the other ones, if they're saying they don't want to, then just don't. Or tell Mark, no, you can't come back. Like that's just it. I don't know. Maybe the work that they're doing is so great that they need Mark. I no, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know because
and
their
and
Audis are like confused, right? They don't know what happened, so it's not like
yeah,
their Audis can go and have this talk or whatever else. They can just be like, I don't know what happened, and it's the end of it, and move on. So I don't know.
so here's what I think, and this is like pure like just gut feeling. I have nothing to explain this. So I feel like they were all there. It's possible that they were like that they were never asked if they wanted to come back. But once again, going back to Mark specifically, they needed him to come back because they needed to keep surveillance on him. I really don't think the other ones were asked to come back.
But why Mark? Like
Well,
what?
with the exception of one person we'll get to later, but Mark specifically.
What is it about? And I'm still. Is it still? Does it go back to Gemma? Like it has to all come back to Gemma,
All
right?
right, so I was thinking about this in the context of a show
Miss Pacey.
that we watched previously that we love. If you want to watch the show, I'm not gonna go too deep of it, but Mr. Robot. There was a time when we were watching Mr. Robot, and I asked you specifically, did a character on this show go through these events one time before?
Hmm.
And we both agreed that the answer was possibly yes. And I had the same question about Marquez. When we start the show in the beginning, is it possible that these events had already happened previously and there was possibly like a reset?
See, you say that about Mark, but I was leaning more towards what you said before, which is Irving.
See, Irving, which is, and I think Irving specifically has been reset so much that
Mhm.
he is, and they don't know that severed people can do this, but he is carrying that in his consciousness. That's why he keeps drawing the thing. But I think Mark has been reset at least once.
Feel like I've seen Dollhouse. I think we've talked about this about Dollhouse before. It's similar. Like Dollhouse was different in a way where these people were given somebody else's consciousness, right? But after a while, they started to retain fragments from all of everyone's consciousness they've been at before. So with Irving, I'm kind of like you. It's like you can only truly reset somebody so many times before it's almost a part of their memory,
Yeah.
right? Like everything starts with it starts and ends with that elevator for Irving, the dark
Mm-hmm.
one, not the regular one, but the dark one with the arrow down. I think that he's going to the testing floor. And that's what makes me think that your theory is right about him being reset before, because how else would he know the elevator? And he had all of that information about the people from Lumen in his house. His Audi did. So he's
Right,
got to be
right.
retaining it. He has to be. And like you said before, Bert may have been also, which would explain. I know some people have an instant connection, but that would also explain how they kind of found each other
Mm.
again, just like Casey, Miss Casey, and Mark S.
Yeah.
You see, like
Yeah,
how they're
and
kind of
because
drawn
cause
to each other.
also yeah, because also to bring in like another piece of I guess pop culture and in Blade Runner, like when there's like a replicant, which is like an android basically,
Hmm.
they give them the void comp test to see if they're like what's called baseline, which means like okay, you are behaving and acting as you should. Because the tagline is replicants are like realer than humans, so you are acting and behaving as you should, so you don't even know like anything outside of your existence. And I feel like that's kind of like what the wellness room was, like
Hmm.
because they wanted to see like okay, they started to have a connection, and once again, you can't basically defragment what's like on like I guess the hard drive, which is like their minds. But they started to have a connection, but they put them in the wellness room, and they noticed like okay, they don't really know each other anymore, which means okay, good, it's working. The reset is working. But yeah, so I do think that Mark possibly was like you know reset at least once.
I think so too, because or it's just giving us like the I guess the question of, do things affect you even if you don't remember them, right?
Mm.
So there's this thing with people who have amnesia. Sometimes it just something happens and it all comes back because it's there. You know what I mean? Like it's always there. And smell, right?
Hmm.
There's a specific smell that reminds you of your mother or your grandmother or your dorm in college, or we used to burn this candle all the time, so when you smell that candle it
I
takes you
want
back
I
to
want no smells that remind me of my dorm at college, but yeah. But no, I know what you
but
mean. Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's like, how much really can this chip remove? Because what parts are you like, what I don't
You
know,
are
it's
getting
kind of hard to say like,
you're getting to the real questions here. Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
finish your thought.
because Irving knows how to drive, right? It took him a second, but it came back because that's muscle memory, right? You do these things and it's repetition and it becomes a part of who you are. So how do they know, how does the chip know how to turn off who you are and the you are. I guess I'm
Mm,
saying, like Haley example for me is the biggest one because I think we kind of had a discussion of like which one of them is the real person. Is the outie or the any the real person? Because if your any only knows this person, you don't have anybody to impress. You don't have any expectations other than putting these scary numbers in this box so you can be who you are, right?
mhm.
On the outside, the life, the world we live in, we do have to impress people. We have to turn on certain sensors and all these things because there are ramifications for it. So,
Mhm.
when are you truly your authentic self? If not when you're, I guess, outside of your person? No,
Mhm.
I guess that's why the book resonated so much with them, you know, the
Yeah,
you
and
are,
it's
which
a and this is where the show excels because that's a good metaphor for, work life balance. Because if my coworkers saw me outside of my job, they would be like, "Who is this guy?" Vice versa. So yeah, like that's a good metaphor that they play with there. But yeah, so where are we now? All right, so let's get into Haley since you mentioned her. So there are two schools of thought on this, which I showed you a clip that premiered on like Colbert, and the moment I saw that clip, I was like, "That's not Haley."
that
But
motherfucker is not real.
yeah, but I think they did it. They did a good play here because there is enough there to say like maybe Haley is just embarrassed that she's an Egan and she wants to keep that under wraps. But at the same time, the coldness, the lack of jokes, the almost like kind of like dry snitching too, like makes you believe that that is Helena Egan and not Haley.
If you had to guess right now, which one is it? Like if you had to say today, we'll get more evidence
Uh
as the
huh.
show goes. But today, if you had to choose, do you think it's Haley or Miss Egan?
So I will say this: I first of all, I don't think it's a twist. I think they're putting it in your face, and I think it's a good way to build tension in the show because I feel like it's very intentional. So I believe that's Helena.
Also, now the key points that make me believe that it's her are like you said. One, she she kept like alluding to that there was no surveillance. Like we can be completely honest, we can know exactly what happened because there's
Hmm.
no surveillance. When they were in the room in the beginning, Mark mentioned it, and she was like, "Oh, did you notice that there's no camera here?" And it was almost like,
Hmm.
like it was kind of sad. It's like, what are we doing? Why are you
I got a
even?
bit. I got a bigger one for you that I didn't even catch until I went back.
Mhm.
Did and I don't. I'm assuming you didn't catch it either because by the way, every time we record, the like makes like very detailed notes, and I don't see it in your notes here, so I'm gonna assume you didn't catch it. The scene where they sit down at their computers, she reaches back and she doesn't know where the power button is.
Mm-hmm. She was fiddling for it, wasn't she?
Yeah, she doesn't know where the power button is.
She was fiddling. She was. She
Yeah.
was. And um, we were kind of going back and forth about her saying, we're not the same. Like, because he was
Hmm.
like, our innie and out is just the same ish. And she was like, no, we're not the same. And at first I said, well, maybe that's just the innie being upset that she's anything like Helena. But then
Hmm.
I thought, no, it's the other way. Like Helena is pissed that Haley is weak in a way. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
she should have been able to go in there and be the same person because the outie believes that she is her true, like, I am the real person. She's even said that I am a real person, you are not. So how dare you be different than me, because I am, you can't be anybody but me. This is me. This is who I am. I am real. I'm authentic. I'm not doing this for anybody but myself. And I think it's hard for her to wrap her mind around the fact that she can be anybody than who she is, because she believes that she's this strong Egan that makes these decisions, and I did it because it's awesome, and my dad wants you to believe I did it for this reason, when in actuality that's probably why she did it. She did it to please them, not for herself. And she's got to reckon with that now. So the whole, this isn't, we're not the same inside and out, that's her, I think, being upset that it's even close. And again, she mentioned no surveillance again while they were in the break room. So I think, I don't know. And plus we've realized too, because I didn't, we were trying to figure out if you had to be severed to be on that floor, and clearly you don't, because Cobel isn't and Milchick isn't either. I can't
Yeah.
tell Miss Wong. I'm assuming she's not, because she was like, before this I was a crossing guard, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming she's
So
not either.
so
Her weird self.
I was gonna leave this segment for the end, but because I'm just feeling it, and you mentioned it, I'm gonna bring it up now. So I was gonna reel off some theories that I had for you, and
Okay.
I wanted you to tell me whether you buy it or you don't. And these are theories I got from Reddit, by the way.
The
First
good
of all,
place.
how how did Gemma die?
I don't think she's dead.
No,
Like
no, no.
there's a,
When Gemma died, how did she
oh,
die?
there was a car accident.
Okay,
I'm
and Ms.
assuming,
Wong, listen,
my guess
hold,
is that she hit the tree.
but hold on. And Ms. Wong said she's
Ooh,
a
look at
what?
you. Crossing guard.
Yeah. So
I mean, there's some connection there.
Do you buy that Miss Wong has a connection to the accident?
I buy it. Yeah, it's not far fetched. If
All
there
right,
isn't a connection, I won't be mad, but I
all
can
right.
believe that there is one.
Now the other one is Miss Wong isn't severed. Do you buy that one?
She's not severed,
She's not severed.
or
Yeah.
she is. See, that's what I'm thinking. I was gonna ask you. I think if she, I don't know, because Milchick's not severed, and neither was Cobell, and she works there, so she could not be severed. Is it legal to sever a child? I'm assuming she's a child. She looks like a
I
child.
mean, no, she's definitely a child. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think she's severed.
Uh huh.
I don't know. I don't know. The only reason I would say no is because she's one of the employees, like she's upper management. But initially, when I saw her on the floor, I assumed she was. Until she said the whole "I used to be a crossing guard" thing, but that could just be what they
Yeah.
told her.
Yeah. All right. So first iteration of Mark, they put his wife in there. Second iteration of Mark, they put Wong in there. The other theory, and I'm gonna tell you like off bat, like because the timeline doesn't match up. I sell this one 100% all the way. So they put Miss Wong in there. Could Miss Wong be Mark's daughter?
I knew you were gonna say that. She could
And like I
be.
said, I sell this like I'm selling this 100% because there would have been mention of her by now, and if not, that's a very just convenient like omission that her sister or even Rickon or like anybody else on the outside like never mentioned Mark having a daughter.
I don't think there's any way Devin wouldn't have mentioned her, at least
Right.
once. At least one.
Especially since she just had a kid of her own. So yeah, I sell that one. But yeah, those are
Or
those are
pictures.
theories. Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
have a
Pictures
picture
too.
of Gemma, but none of her daughter. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't like it, so I'm hoping it's not because
Hmm.
there's no breadcrumbs at all. I don't like when there are no. Like I'm okay with surprise twists if they make sense, but I'm not gonna like that one if that's
Right.
the case. Do you think she's severed?
I don't think she's severed. No.
You don't. Okay. Okay.
So I do buy that one. Yeah, I don't think she's
How
she's
old is
severed.
she?
12.
She's 12.
Yeah.
She's 12.
Yes.
So why is she at school?
Great
It's a
question.
summer internship.
No, she is she like Mark reports to her now.
That's what I'm saying. That's her job. So like, how is she? Okay. Maybe she's like maybe she's a genius. Like, and she's done. You know what I'm saying? Like
No,
she's already
because
done her formal education and she's got a job.
no, because they kind of like intentionally, and not saying this doesn't not make her a genius, but it kind of intentionally shows you that she's still very childish because the moment Milchek closed his door, she pulled out the little game.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't. I'm interested to see where she goes because she's kind of creepy.
Yeah, she is.
Are
She is. Yeah.
the other team, are they gonna be back? I can't imagine they bring them for one episode, but I mean, stranger things have happened. So you think they'll be back?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure they will somehow. Yeah. I haven't checked IMDb because last time I did, I saw things I didn't need to see. So
See, you
I'm
don't
just
need to.
gonna let it
Mm-mm.
rock. Yeah. So
Did I just was I just oblivious to all of it, or did they say before now that they had all these different branches of Lumen? Like I knew that it was a company, but I just
mhm.
never considered that there were more severed people outside of wherever the heck they are.
So
Minnesota.
yeah, prior to this, actually, I think it's like we don't know the exact location, but it's like kind of based on Pacific Northwest. But once again, we still don't know. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
way for us to like truly know. But I will say this: like prior to this, like we thought like that was just Lumen HQ, the one building. That's all they had. But now we see it's like a global operation.
200, what was it? 206 countries,
Yeah.
and they've been around since 1870.
So that leads to another episode of like, do you buy or sell that I want to get into. And this is the craziest. I have to credit this person for this theory on Severance Apple Plus on Reddit. The name is Griff_T, and this theory is so crazy that when you sit and think about it, it actually makes too much sense.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say this, you're going to be like, "What the hell?" But the title of the theory is like Lumen, the Confederacy 2.0. So they cite the first thing they cite is like if you ever look at the animations of Kier, you see him dressed in like a gray suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a Confederate like army like uniform.
Mm-hmm.
1870, notably the Reconstruction. There are several files that they're working on that have name of like Confederate like battles, like for instance Cold Harbor. The location and geography. So there are 205 countries in the world, 195 currently. So yeah, that's like a reference to like the Confederacy, and then like the dates in the Confederacy. Like yeah, it like when you keep, and then there are like quotes that Keir says that refers to basically to like the Civil War. Like I dug inside of soldiers within them, found the war. Like that is a direct tie to. But here's the thing. Here's the kick. this is basically another form of slavery, but in the form of technology. When you
Definitely
think of
by the
Severance,
slavery part.
yes.
Yeah,
So
definitely by the slavery part.
so
Um,
so yeah, like, eh, but also here's the biggest thing. So the which I can't remember his name, but the senator is fighting for Severance, on the outside because when Devin bumps into his wife, he's fighting on that on a national level, which once again goes back into like you know slavery,
slavery.
servitude, but
Mm-hmm.
on a legal level. It is freaking crazy. And this person has a very detailed theory. Like they have like broken down into like a timeline and everything. I will actually link this in like the YouTube description. But yeah, it's like so crazy that when I read it, I was like, no, 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 no. This feels, but it makes sense.
Buy it because there are only so many coincidences before it becomes the truth. There's a quote about coincidence. I don't know what it is. I guess like once is a mistake, two is coincidence, three is a pattern, whatever.
Right.
So at this point, he has so many instances where it matches that I don't know of a way that it can't be true. The only thing that I have against it is that I hate when people get stuff right. So you kind of watch the show with that already solved. So I'm hoping he's wrong just because I want it to be something else. But again, he's got so much evidence that it's hard to be like it's
So I will
I
say
buy it.
this: both Ben Stiller and Dan Erickson have said that they are like they're really out here in the theory streets, and they said that they have yet to come across someone who has gotten it 100% right.
I would say that too, though.
There are things here and there that like, and there's even like a video where they're like reading off theories and like they're like but they don't quite like, but
Hmm.
they're and and even Patricia Arquette was like, you might be on the right track with something, but they still say like no one has gotten it 100% right.
And Mark on the outside will keep that secret.
See, Mark on the so maybe Mark on the outside, like, yeah, cause yeah, like I don't think it's I think it's something there where like maybe like I don't know, maybe he doesn't know, like, but that doesn't make any sense. I don't know,
He
but
could
yeah, like,
know. He could very well know and just not tell him. Like, cause he feels a way about it. Like he could not tell Devin. Like who tells
well, no, because
anybody
he's
everything?
convinced that his wife is dead. So yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Is he? Because I mean, to him, she is. Because brain dead is dead.
Well, yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So like, the fact that she's dead is legit in his mind. In reality, because she's gone, she's dead, right? But he's keeping the whole I donated her body to Lumen part to himself because they've asked him repeatedly why he did it, right? And he won't. I mean, he of course he's like I can't. He couldn't cope, but that makes sense to me. That would be a reason to go in
yeah,
there outside of I'm just sad because
yeah,
you don't want to be sad for 8 hours. And if that's the case, that's fine, but you're still sad. So you just there's 8 hours of your day that you miss physically, but your mind doesn't wrap itself around the fact that you've been doing something else. Right? In order for therapy to work, you have to go through the therapy. So
yeah,
you going and not being, I guess, just a day passing, so you don't have to think about it as much. Maybe that's what it is. It's not about really healing. It's just that this is 8 hours less that I have to think about her. Maybe.
Speaking of Day Pass,
And why was
so
her picture torn up? I'm sorry. I'm still on that. He
mm,
taped her picture back together, remember, in that season. Why was it
mm,
torn up? Did she decide to do it?
yeah, I
Like,
don't
did
know. That's a
Gemma
good question.
decide if something happens to me, then I'm going to
Maybe
Lumen?
I don't know. Maybe he can stand to look at it. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe. It seems like
but
that's one
yeah,
of those things. You know how you're like, You're pissed at somebody for doing something, and in a fit of rage,
Uh huh.
you're mad, so you scratch up the pictures, you throw them away or whatever else, and then once you calm
Yeah.
down, you realize I ain't have to do all of that.
Yeah.
It would feel
Yeah.
like there was a decision that was made by her that angered him to the point that he tore up a picture, or she just died. Like sometimes people are mad that you died, and they know it's not your fault, but you still died. You left me, so it could have been that too. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this though.
So,
That makes me happy.
yeah.
What do you think they're doing? Like, I still want to
Which
know.
you read my mind. Perfect segue because
Yeah.
I wanna flash to the end because we see a picture of Casey and Gemma, and she's on the screen, and there's like almost like things that are being loaded, and so humor me with this for a second. All right, so we have the four tempers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they're refining data, they're dropping numbers into the boxes, and they
Mm-hmm.
say look for the numbers that are scary. So what if when someone is reset, they are essentially almost like rebuilding. All right, so the data that they're refining is to basically almost like rebuild their personality of the
Mm-hmm.
separate person based on those four tempers. So
Kind
when
of
you think
like
about it, it's like a string of numbers, but maybe it's almost like like that those string of numbers make up like code that you know makes the whole of a person. And only a separate person will know the significance of these numbers in the first place because those numbers are in them too.
okay, okay. So are these people now like are they androids then? Or are they like at some point you become more cold than soul, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they're
Okay.
like just hamsters on the wheel, and the numbers is almost giving them like it's almost like yeah, like yeah, they're called microdata refining, but it's almost like they're providing the code for the person.
So since Gemma's dead and she never goes back out, they can make her whatever they want her to be.
Right, right.
Is it possible she was brain dead and they just if she was brain dead,
That's what
Gemma,
I'm thinking. Yeah.
and then they took this chip and put it into her head and then they coded however they want to, this could go well beyond being severed. This goes into what can you do
I
for
have
a comatose person or a
I
like it
have
goes into
one that
pharmaceuticals, right?
I just thought of this in this moment. Like, and I promise I've never seen this anywhere. I just thought of this in this moment. What if Gemma was brain dead? Mark agreed to donate her body to science. And the only way that he could see his wife is that he worked in a company with her. That's why he got severed. So yeah, I was gonna mention you mentioned day pass. I'm gonna take it back to hall pass because they are creating like tension for the season in a very like interesting way. Like they like in the Lumen video, which is by the way, do you know who that was narrated by?
The claymation,
The Lumen video that they showed in the break room. Do you know whose voice that was?
no, who was it?
Keanu.
Of course it was Keanu.
Yeah,
Of
so
course.
they mentioned Hall Pass, but in a more like I guess tongue in cheek way. Milicic pulls Dylan to the side. He's like, "Hey man, like if you ever want to meet your outie wife, we have this room for you, but don't tell anybody." And
I don't like
in
it.
my mind, yeah, in my mind, this is the way that they're integrating them back into Lumen, but also kind of like setting up ways to control each of them because yes,
Yes. I'm with you. I'm just with you because it made me
Okay,
think
okay,
about Haley.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because yeah, obviously, Haley is Helena. The Irving Burt thing, like that's gonna take care of itself. And Dylan, for some strange reason, and once again, this is just a gut thing. I don't even think Dylan's wife on the outside is maybe even alive. But the fact that, he's using that to kind of like keep Dylan in check is like, hey, because the floor isn't even built yet. The
is it
wing,
going to
that wing
replace
isn't even
wellness?
built yet. Yeah, I mean, I guess that will be some wellness. Yeah, but no, like I'm just like Dylan, don't give in that soon because guess what? When your Audi goes out there, and but I guess he wants some too. I don't know, but yeah, I'm just like that's not a good proposition. But don't fall for it. But yeah, they're creating conflict. Oh, if you hear a police siren, it's because I live I live in the gut. No, I don't live in the gutter, but uh, there's like a fire station like right down the street from me. Um, but no, I think that they are kind of like trying to drive like a wedge between the team, even though like okay, we're gonna bring you back, but unbeknownst to you, we're gonna drive a wedge between y'all too. So
But the thing that you made me think about with Haley, like you said, everybody needs a reason to be there. And Dylan, like you said, inadvertently gave Irvin one because he doesn't want him to
hmm
die. And I respect that. That was very sweet.
hmm
And that made me think all this time I thought of them as people. They are real people, sure. But I never thought about the will to live like we have, right? We have one that's innate in us. We want to be alive. I never thought about that with them because they're not real. And I hate to say that. They're real
they are
in
real.
there. So they're real people, but they don't die. The person doesn't die. The the severed thought process, the to me, it's just almost like the simulation dies, right? Because it's kind
hmm
of what it is when you go in there. So I'm not thinking of a person dying if they never go back, but they
hmm
are people in there, so they exist as a whole person in their minds, right? So physically, you won't die if you never go back to that place. If you never go back to the seventh floor, you won't die. You'll still Deandra will exist, but Magnetus, the any dies, and it's almost like, well, okay, that was never like she's not literally dying. It's just like the
Yeah.
the the memory is just gone. You know what I mean? It's like that's just, but they mean something to each other, so it matters still. I know I'm explaining this poorly, but that was
No,
cool
no,
for
I
me
get
to
what you're saying.
realize, like that
Yeah,
they
like
really
the
are.
body is simply like a carrier, and there's like two, like what was one consciousness is now split into two. So yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. The consciousness goes away, but the person is still very much a person. Like you won't even
hmm
know you're dead because you just disappear. Like you just don't come back.
hmm
Um, but Helly giving Mark a reason to stay. That's what popped. Not Helly, Helena. Because I'm with you now. I'm convinced that's her. She's giving him a reason to stay there, and not only stay, but to like almost want to be there. Did you see how they kind of went in there with new gusto and he's looking for the numbers and
hmm
he's excited about being at work because his team is
hmm
back. And she's pushing that saying, I will help you. You should stay. And I'll help you because your wife is here. Although she's not your wife, but she kind of is your wife. She's your Audi's wife. But if you care about her, then I'll stay and help you. But she can just BS around the whole time and just,
Yeah.
have him do whatever. And they can even make it seem like he's getting somewhere to prolong the time he stays because they
hmm
would be in full control, especially if she's if she's infiltrating the team and she's playing double agent. That would be very
Yeah,
easy for them.
and I definitely think she's playing double agent because you kind of had to like suspend the Mark and Haley ship in order for Mark to like now like get his go find his wife. because that would be really weird. Like, hey, like work fling, like you want to come help me find my
Work
wife,
wife.
like so yeah.
I mean, they're totally doing the whole work wife thing, which is funny to me in itself. The work husband, work wife thing, because this is a whole different relationship outside of what they would have, in the real world. But I don't know. I just feel like a person who threatened to cut off her fingers and literally tried to end her life would not willingly go back in there. She
Yeah,
tried to do like
and
she literally tried to die. So the whole idea of her dying, she's just like, well, whatever. Like she didn't care. There was no. She was thinking like I was like this. If this is just my consciousness and I'm not gonna even know I exist anymore after this, then what does it matter?
right.
Right? Like it doesn't matter at all. I don't care. But now she's got this new gusto and wants to live inside of this place. It just doesn't. It don't jive.
Because also
Especially with
what I
the
was
relationship, because like you said, I don't buy their ship anyway. Like I don't support it. I don't
yeah
hate it, but I don't really like it.
because also something I was thinking about as I was rewatching the first season. I did watch intently, regardless of what you might say. So the scene where that they show, because they show her from two perspectives. When Haley is going through orientation and she's going out the door repeatedly, and then they show it from the outside where like Milicic is like greeting her every time. Like, it is like not like being hidden, it's in plain sight, but like Milicic is talking to Helena there. And he's like, go back in. You're doing
Got this.
fine. Go back in. You
Great.
got
You're doing
this.
a great
Yeah.
job. Mm-hmm.
And with that, there's even that lets me know that there's even like a level of like kind of like manipulation even on the outside with like Helena.
Yes. And for her to be so adamant about wanting to do it, it's
Yeah.
very clear that she's being pushed. And like the conversation that she had with her dad, or was that her dad or her granddad? That was her dad at the gala, right?
Yeah.
Even the conversation she had with him was weird. And I know that was the innie, but I can tell by the way he was speaking to her that dynamic is very much gaslighting. You're doing this on you're so brave and you're great and you're doing this for yourself and you're so smart and you'll sit right next to me. But he's manipulating his child and making her do what he wants her to do.
Mommy,
What?
what is the password that you use whenever you get bit?
What?
I'm upstairs.
Some kind of password. His daddy has taken him away now. But anyway, this is what happens when your children don't have to go to school. Go MLK. But anyway.
Oh
Speaking
wow.
of
Like
manipulating
sorry.
children.
How
Speaking
how
of
dare
manipulating
you?
children. But yeah, I think it's just him definitely manipulating her the whole time, telling her what to do, and she just kind of does it, and she's convinced herself that it's her because she wants to think that she has a seat at the table. But when it comes down to it, I don't think she would matter at all. Like, I believe they would leave her in there if they could.
Yep.
Forever.
Speaking of, I definitely think we see like actual Haley again. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's just embarrassed that she's an Egan, but I do think we see like
Now, I did think that she was not only embarrassed, but afraid they wouldn't trust her because she's an Egan.
yeah.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense, because I wouldn't trust her either. I'd be like, well, how do I know you're not, you? Right? So, I get not telling them.
I think
Which is why they didn't tell him at all.
And see that kind of like furthers why I think that's Helena even more, because I actually think that that Dylan, he was like, no, that's fucking awesome. You got to go out there and get information for us and bring it back up here. Like I think I don't think that would have deterred them. That's just me though, but I don't know.
You think Irvin was suspicious and that's why he didn't say anything in there, or do you think he just really had a moment? And
He was
then just
suspicious
told-
because he said
Yeah.
because he was like so the night gardener.
Yeah, he was the gardener at night. So a night gardener? Yeah, he He knows something's fishy. And I think I like the fact that he was smart enough not to let on outside of that questioning that he was suspicious. But he trusts Dylan. I'm glad he told him.
Yeah. Also, like Zach Cherry, who's the actor who plays Dylan, they just let him just do his thing this episode. He was hilarious this episode.
With them
I'm
random cuss
sorry.
words.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that Bert has a hot husband on the house.
I know it was real because I encouraged the courtship. Like, what are you doing? But it was real. It was very sweet and touching the
Yeah.
moment that they had because, again, it let me seem like they're a real family. And what
Yeah.
is the end game, right? Like, what happens when you retire? You just retire
Yeah.
and you at that point okay
Yeah.
with it, or
Yeah.
do you fall to pieces like Irvin did when Bert retired?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I want to say, like, because I didn't mention this either, but whenever you're watching, like, a TV show or a movie, specifically, like, is in, like, superhero shows where they have that moment, that team up moment, like, it happens in, like, the Avengers, and you're like, oh, this is cool. They had that moment here, and I was just like, damn, like, they actually really, really pulled that off. Like, because when they all got back together, it was like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for, and yeah, so I have nothing but admiration for Ben Stiller and Dan Erickson on how they handled this show. And I forgot to mention Ben Stiller's cinematographer. She's a great cinematographer who was promoted to like producer of the show as well. She does an excellent job. But yeah, great team on this show. They're doing an amazing job, and I have no doubt that season 2 is going to be fantastic based on this first episode.
I'm excited about it. I'm very excited. I'm excited. I think mostly about seeing the Audis, the rest of them, just to see what it's like. I think I saw the. Did you see the little clip at the end that's showing like what's to come? Because the doctor's gonna be back. The one that put the chips in,
Right,
she'll be
Gabi.
back. Yeah, and Patricia's of course coming back. She's amazing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I want to see what the dynamic between her and Helly's gonna be like because it looks intense. Because they do, like she said, you fear me, and I feel like they do, on some level. Like something about Cobel is weird. I don't know, but
Yeah, and I
I'm
can't
interested to
even
see.
begin to make the connection, but her fixation on reintegration too, I think, isn't an accident and will come back into play. So yeah, Cobel's fixation on like reintegration or whatever it's called.
Reintegration and her throuple. Maybe
Yeah.
she wants Mark. Like maybe she does like Mark. I don't know.
I
Like
don't think
maybe
she
she
wants
really
Mark,
does.
but no, like going back to like Petey and him being reintegrated, I just really think like she had a fixation on that, and
She
it's
did. She
yeah,
took the
and I know
man's
she had
chip
an
out
alter.
during the funeral,
Yeah,
Ronnie. Like during the service, she took it out. That is crazy.
yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, we'll see. You think we will see another reintegrated person, or are we done with that?
I think it's possible. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, it's Fridays, right?
Yeah, Fridays.
Well, we'll be back next week. See how it went. Maybe.
Same bet
You know,
time, same bet
who
channel.
knows where Ronnie will be? I'll be here.
Yeah. So, programming notes. So, like, probably a midpoint of this, like, might be a different person, in my place, because I will be
We got
away.
things to
But
do.
yeah, don't worry. We'll still keep it rolling. But yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know what your theories are. And that's all we have for now. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.